Shakur. I like Shakur Stevenson. Shakur's a Jersey boy. I'm a Jersey boy. But I gotta be honest, it wasn't the most impressive performance, especially with everything going on. I know Shakur is a great fighter. I just think he's gotta stop with the excuses. You can't say stuff like, I'm gonna stop him, and then inevitably go to a decision. Artem was tough, I'll give you that, but don't guarantee a stoppage where you're constantly saying it. He didn't just say it one time throughout the fight. He said it multiple times, and I think he's just trying to be something that he's not. I think he feels the need because inevitably we all see him matching up with a guy like Tank Davis, and that's the pinnacle fight for all of us boxing fans. But let's be real about it, and Shakur has to be real with himself too, that he's not a knockout artist. He can't end a fight whenever he wants to. There's a difference between guys like Tank and guys like Shakur. There's a difference between guys like Terrence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson. Terrence Crawford gets guys out of there. Shakur Stevenson can put a clinic on, but he can't flip that switch to get guys out of there. I'm just a little bit tired of the excuses, and this is coming from somebody that believes that Shakur is the one to potentially beat Tank. I still have Tank beating Shakur, and especially after that fight, and a lot of you guys are gonna wonder, how could you have him with a better chance of beating Tank prior when he had a worse performance, but he has a better performance now? And I'll tell you why. The inability to make adjustments for me, the combination punches weren't there. There was nothing special about the offense that leads me to believe that Tank has to be concerned about anything that Shakur has to offer offensively, and that's just facts. You know, the jab is good, but it's not going to hurt Tank. He has a good straight left hand, but it's very A to B. There's no real sense of power behind it, no sense of creativity, and I think that's what was missing from Shakur Stevenson's performance. And he's a great fighter. He's one of those generational talents that you maybe only see once in like I said, a generation or once in a lifetime. Who knows what he's gonna be? He's a great fighter. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm getting more so at he's trying to be something that he's not. You know, he thinks that he can be a knockout artist, but sometimes you gotta put your pride aside and say, I'm not gonna stop this guy, and don't try to guarantee these promises that you can't fulfill, that you can't keep. So I'm a big fan of Shakur Stevenson, don't get me wrong, but he definitely, you know, addressing all of this this performance that he had, and I thought he had a solid performance. It's just more so it wasn't entertaining to the fans. Obviously, you go on boxing social media, they call him Shakur Twitterson because he's always on social media and answering every little critic that people are giving to him about his performance, but he has to be greater than that. You have to ignore that stuff and just fix it and shut them up in the ring. Even if you're boring, you can't tell people that, you know, you're exciting and that they're not leaving the fight. Like, they were clearly leaving the fight, and I'm not saying it's not, you know, right of Top Rank to be doing that. Maybe they shouldn't be showing on ESPN that people are walking out of the arena like they do at an NBA game when it's already over. But Shakur Stevenson in his own hometown wasn't able to get the finish that he wanted to. And you can say F the fans, you can say this and that, but those are your people. You wear Newark on your trunks, right? And you're kind of robbing them of their money by not giving them the performance that they want to see. Wouldn't you, if you're performing in front of your hometown, aren't you going to show at least a little bit of risk? I think the thing that really bothered me was that Shakur's style, let's compare the styles, right? When we're talking X's and O's of boxing, we're talking Artem Harutyunyan style. It's a tough style to maintain 12 rounds. You can see the fatigue starting to set in. Maybe Shakur Stevenson had more success with the body work, and that started to take a little bit of a toll, but he was nowhere near, you know, getting stopped or really getting hurt by Shakur Stevenson. And you look at Shakur Stevenson, his style on a broad scale, in general, Shakur's style in comparison to a guy like Tank is more economical. It's easier to maintain, it's more efficient. But you know, if you're going to be economical, you should be able to get an impressive win, an impressive stoppage win. And I'm not saying it had to be a stoppage, but you got to punish that opponent. And he was clearly not on your level, but in front of those fans, you got to be able to flip that switch, especially because your style doesn't really require a lot of conditioning in general. You're really just catching shots, trading on the inside a little bit, and telegraphing Artem shots. Take a risk every now and then. Take a risk to excite the people that have gotten you to this point, who have supported you from day one, And when you're in your city, that's the time to perform. If you're gonna make Tank a fight where maybe it's not the most exciting fight in the world, that's fine. But if you're gonna do it in front of your own city and this guy isn't on your level, we've got to see a switch flip to the point where it's like you're sending a warning to guys at 35, you're sending a warning to guys at 40 that you're the guy that they should all be worried about, that they have it all misunderstood, that it's not just Tank, and maybe it's not even Tank, maybe it's me. Maybe it's me, the fighter that you got to worry about is Shakur Stevenson. But he didn't get that performance, and even though, you know, that's not even what I'm mad at. I'm more so frustrated with the fact that he says stuff like, oh, it's because of Artem, I wish he would have tried a little bit more so it could have been a more fun fight. Come on, bro. Like, who are you trying to kid? You're blaming your opponent for his style of fighting? Like, were you not in the ring too? It's just, that's the kind of stuff I don't like to see from Shakur Stevenson. Everybody likes to compare, you know, they compared Floyd to Pernell Whitaker and Sugar Ray, all that, and then they're doing the same thing with Shakur Stevenson. You didn't see Floyd Mayweather in between of rounds going like this, saying, oh, this guy doesn't want to fight, oh, he's running. Artem wasn't running. Artem in that fight isn't doing, you know, 10% of, you know, the movement that you do in your fight. So if you're calling Artem's movement running, like, what does that make you? And I don't think Shakur runs like a lot of his haters do. I think Shakur's efficient. I think he's smart. He's intelligent defensively, and that's one of his strongest assets. But I can understand why fans aren't happy with it, but I can understand why fans aren't excited when he fights, because it's not the most pleasing style. Because you got to look at it, no matter what, we're watching that fight, and don't get me wrong, Shakur didn't have a bad performance. Shakur had a pretty strong performance if you're just looking at it as a boxer. But we're all inevitably thinking about that Tank fight, watching that, and we're all giving him criticism because we know that, yeah, you're gonna beat this guy, but you got Tank next. Tank's not Artem. You're gonna have a lot more problems, so you've got to show us something here that leads us to believe that you could beat Tank. And we know he has the resources, he has the ability to do it, but that fight didn't show me anything special where he's sending a message to Tank saying, you got to worry about my right hand, you got to worry about my left hook to the body, you got to worry about my left hand upstairs, you got to worry about my jab. The jab is always pretty accurate, but it's not anything new. It's not anything that you're showing that makes you versatile offensively. We know that he's got the defense on lockdown, and I think that's more so what's frustrating for me, seeing such a great fighter not being able to flip that switch, because we all know where he's at when it comes to the rest of his opponents. There aren't really a lot of guys that can really compete with him. I would argue besides Tank, no one can beat Shakur Stevenson, but he's not putting on the performances that would make him an all-time great, and that's just the way it is. You know, people sometimes hate on him for going to a decision, and I'm not saying I would have liked the stoppage for him. I think it would have been a good impression to have, especially going into free agency where this was your literal last opportunity to perform and show that, you know, that final impact, leave that final print before people start to pursue you as a promoter, as a you know, superstar, as a potential draw for a big fight with Tank. Because now that fight didn't necessarily shoot his stock up to the sky. It honestly probably decreased his stock a little bit, or at least, you know, maintained it. But seeing fans walk out of his own arena, you think they're gonna, you know, people are gonna be offering him more than what he was offered from Top Rank. From Top Rank, he was offered a $15 million deal for 5 fights, meaning that for each fight he probably would have made around $3 million, and he turned it down because he thinks that, you know, he's worth more, and that's fine. But with certain performances like what he had against Artem, that doesn't help your case. That doesn't show that you're at that high value. If anything, these promoters now, when you're gonna start going to meetings, they're gonna lowball you because of that performance. And I'm telling you, if you had took a little bit more risk, I think there's a chance that you could have done something significant that could have excited the crowd. Because honestly, in my opinion, Keyshawn Davis was the real main event of that fight. I think Shakur could take some notes from his guy Keyshawn, where he's very composed, but he's also creative in the pocket. He's creative with his shots, and he lands them at will. He was really telegraphing, you know, all of his opponent's shots and showing that defense, and it was on display, but still made it an exciting fight. So I think that's the thing about Shakur Stevenson. Like, you don't have to be the exciting fighter that Tank is, but you have to promote yourself. If you don't do either, if you refuse to do either, then we can't help you when it comes to making a lot of money in the sport and becoming that Kodak superstar like Tank Davis is, because he honestly has the performance and he promotes himself outside of the ring. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace. That's going to do it for another NASFIGHT Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Matt Nabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.